Okay, cool. So, hi. Um, we're just gonna get started here. So in the past, my past two sessions, I've done more like um, I kind of cater my session towards exactly what you all are working on in class, and I decided to try something different this session. I wanted to do just a guide on my favorite tips for being more productive on your computer. Um, so yeah, we'll see how it goes. I have a lot of good tips. It's like a passion of mine trying to have a good workflow where I can, do things quickly and um, not get caught up. So um, I have a bunch of good tips and I'll just be sharing them. I made slides and it was a little bit last minute, but I'll pull up my slides and we can get started. And also feel free to stop me at any point if any of you have questions or um, need clarification or just want to say hi or whatever. Feel free to stop me. Um, and you can all hear me all right, right?
Yes.
Okay. I was worried for a second. I was like, am I talking to myself? Okay. Um, cool. And you can see my screen, I assume?
Also, yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Let's get started with this presentation. Also, I have no idea how long this is going to be. I kind of wrote this all up last night and I haven't really gone through it. So could be an hour or it could be 10 minutes or it could be 2 hours. I don't really know. But okay, let's get into it. So being more productive on your computer. That's the topic for today. Learn some cool tips so you can get more stuff done. Um, so just a little bit of background. Programmers spend most of their day on their computers, as I'm sure some of you have experienced. Um, and so if you learn to use your tools well, you can enter a flow state. And a flow state is, I feel like it happens when you're familiar enough with your tool that your ideas can kind of just flow out into reality. So, you could imagine like with a guitar, you're in flow state when you're, I don't know, like a blues guitarist is soloing and they don't have to think about the notes where they're putting their fingers, they just feel it. And it's because they're comfortable enough with the guitar that they don't even have to think about it. It's just, you're speeding up the flow of an idea in your head and turning it into reality. And so if you're really fast at using your computer, it can be, um, well, my next bullet point, it can be more fun and you'll get more done. And then these skills will benefit you at Code the Dream and in future jobs. If you're aiming to spend the rest of your life, doing programming as a career, then, any time you spend learning how to be faster and more efficient at these things is gonna really pay off. And uh, that's kind of what I'll show you in these next slides. So why would you learn a new way of doing things? Um, because it's an investment in your future. At first, learning feels slow and clunky. Like if you learn a new hotkey, for example, or keyboard shortcut. But then the more you practice, as you practice, you'll be flying. Um, so it's worth the initial work you put in to learn something new, because for every second you save over the course of days and years, it can turn into much more time, days saved. Um, and like I said, you can be in more of a flow state where your ideas are just flowing out. Um, so we're going to dive in. We're going to learn some stuff and it's going to be fun, I hope. Um, So first off, I'm using a Mac. I've always used Macs. I like Mac computers, but there's nothing wrong with Windows. Most of the tips I'm going to show you are Mac, or some of them are Mac specific, but to make it work on a Windows, you usually just have to change one thing. For example, on a Mac, the command key is going to be the control key for Windows computers. So, and I'll try to point out when I know how to do something on a Windows computer, I'll try to point out how to do that. But just so you know, some of these are going to be Mac specific, and also some of them are going to be specific to Google Chrome. I use Google Chrome as my web browser, and most of the other ones are pretty similar too. You can use Firefox or Safari or whatever. So yeah, some of these tips might not apply to you. If they don't, then I'm sorry, but there should be workarounds. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to start with general computer skills. So just anything that has like not specific to coding, but just navigating on your computer faster. We're going to talk about keyboard shortcuts, which I love keyboard shortcuts. We're going to talk about VS Code, extensions and stuff. There's some stuff in here that you set up once and it'll make your life so much easier. And it won't take any mental effort after the initial setup. And I've been using VS Code for years and I really love it. I've even made my own extension and I've made my own theme for it. So I'm pretty familiar with the tool, and I'm just going to talk about a couple of my favorite features of it. I'm going to talk about Google Chrome. I use Google Chrome all the time, and yeah, I have some tips for it. We're going to talk about cheat sheets, and I'm going to just give you some links to different cheat sheets that you can just have and reference anytime you need. We're going to talk about developing these skills and how to learn new ones. So how did I learn them? How can you learn them? And, I want to not just teach you some specific skills, but kind of teach you what is the saying, like teaching someone to fish rather than giving them a fish, something like that. And then the last topic is how to merge with your computer and become a cyborg. And that's for advanced students only. Okay, so we're starting with general computer skills. And the first section, we're talking about staying organized on your computer. So staying organized will help you stop wasting time finding the files and folders that you need. So I'm sure you've had the experience of, I have a folder somewhere on my computer or a file, I can't remember where it is, and you might spend, even if you just spend 30 seconds trying to find it, it's not too long, but if you do that multiple times a day, it adds up. And if you know where everything is, then it's just faster and better. So my first technique is I'm calling the pick up your room technique. And you can imagine you're a kid, your mom walks into your room and it's a huge disaster. And so they say, pick up your room. And instead of taking the time to put everything where it needs to go, you just shove everything under your bed. We can do that with files and folders, and it's totally fine. It's awesome. You dump everything into one folder and give it a label. I usually label it with the date. For example, this was my desktop on this date. These are all the files inside of it and folders and stuff. It's just a huge mess. You cleaned it up in 2 seconds. The nice thing about that is it just doesn't take you really any time, but it removes a lot of the clutter. And so throughout this, I'm going to be exiting out of these slides and showing you some examples. And I actually have a messy desktop right now, so I can show you how I would do that. So over here. Okay, so I have this desktop. It's kind of messy. I have a sort on, so it sorts by the date added. If I didn't, these folders wouldn't be in a grid like this. But I kind of like having a sort. But anyways, we're gonna clean all these up using that technique. So I'm just gonna select them all. And then I'm gonna right click and say new folder with selection 23 items. You could do that. You could make the folder first, either way. So I'm making the folder. And then I'm gonna say, I'm gonna call it desktop and today's date, 4/23/23 or 24. It's 2024. Okay. There it is. There is my desktop at that time. And it's likely I will never even open this folder. I probably won't ever need it. Those are just random screenshots that I happen to have. But it's kind of nice. And you can do that with any, you can do that. So I just did that on my desktop. You can do that in Finder, which Finder is Mac's file system. So Windows has one of these, Mac has one of these. It's called a file system, or I think, well, I guess it's technically not a file system. It's like a manager for your file system. So you can look at all of your files and folders. So what I just did with the desktop, you could clean stuff up in any of these folders that you have in here too. So that's the first technique. Just dump everything into a folder, and it's nice and easy. So the next technique is specify as you go. So you can create folders and subfolders as needed. And if things are getting out of hand, you can group some stuff and organize. I find that if I try to organize in one big go before I even start something, like right at the very start, like I get a new computer and I'm like, okay, I'm going to make a folder for my art. I'm going to make a folder. Oh, actually, art is too general. I need art. I need visual art, audio art. I start going through this whole process of imagining what kind of organization I'm going to need, folders for everything. And when I've done that in the past, it's my own personal experience, but when I've done that, I usually don't end up using a lot of those folders and files. It's kind of a waste of time trying to organize before you even have the need to organize. So what I like to do instead, which I've learned this through time, is don't try to imagine exactly the perfect organization structure for everything. You can do it to some degree, but organize and specify more folders as needed. So what that would look like is, I'll just go back to my Finder here. So I have this coding folder that has all these different things in it. And this isn't really too many. It's not like getting out of hand. And I have stuff from a class I took, I have learning, I have a sandbox folder. If I need to find a new folder, it doesn't take me that long usually. But this sandbox folder, you can see it's getting a little bit unruly. It's getting like maybe too many files in it or folders. And so once it starts getting to like a point that it's too crazy and it's taking you way too long to find stuff, then it might be time to say like, okay, I'm gonna make a new folder that's like, I don't know, JavaScript stuff. And then, put everything in there. Or I don't know, find your own way of organizing, but do it as needed. And that's kind of my lesson there. Specify as you go. And then my last technique is, I have just a few ideas of using Finder more efficiently. And this can totally apply to, sorry, I'm gonna reorganize my windows here. We'll actually get to that. You'll see me throughout this course, maybe navigating quickly throughout windows and stuff, and it might look a little crazy or jarring or whatever, but I'll actually show you some of those techniques. That's part of why I'm here. So these are some of the different features in Finder, and Windows has the equivalents of these things too, which can help. And I'll just really quick go over what they are. So actually, I'll unfull screen this so that I can split the window. So I want to be able to see these tips right here. Okay. So I have my Finder window. So we're going to make use of different views. This is something you should know about. Up here, you can click these different views up here. And these are different ways of showing it's all the same files. Well, actually, we're in a folder right here. So if I go to Sandbox, this is the file I have, or the folder I've selected. If I change the view, it'll show me the folders as icons, as a list. This is like a tree structure. This one I really like because you can open subfolders and have like a whole kind of tree structure of your folders. This way is similar, except it puts them in their own little windows, their own little columns here. And another nice thing about this view, which they all have names, I don't know the names, I just use them differently for things. This view is nice because if you want to see an actual file, it'll usually show it on the side here. And there's actually a way to disable or enable that preview there, but I think by default it's enabled. There's some way to do it. I can't remember. So those are the different views which you should make use of. Make use of different tabs. So if I downloaded something that I wanted, and so I went to my downloads folder, I had some like files or folders or something I just downloaded, and I want to put it somewhere else, I can make a new file or a new tab. Sorry. So you can make a new tab, you can go to File, New Tab, or what I do is Command T to make a new tab. So now I have a new tab. So now I still have my file that I wanted, and I have a new tab, and I can go find out where I want to put it. So I want to put that file in coding, projects, whatever, tic-tac-toe. So now I have both both tabs, so I don't have to like go back. It's an easy way to, have a file and you find the location you want to put it, and then you can drag it into that tab, into that file or folder. So make use of tabs in your File Explorer. Chrome Finder hides them by default. You don't know they're there, and so you can do new tab. Same thing as doing a new window, except tabs are easier to manage. Within one application, I would generally prefer doing more tabs rather than more windows. Just it's easier. Making use of search. So you can search for something. If I wanted to search code, say I want the VS Code icon. I know I have the VS Code icon in here somewhere. So I'm going to search VS Code. And wow, I have so many things that have VS Code somewhere in their name or, as part of their contents. How do I find exactly what I'm looking for? Well, we searched, which is the first step. You can click this plus sign here, and that opens a little filter thing. The kind is any right now. If I want to find images, I could say kind is image. And now I have icons. You could do that with kind is application. And I think VS Code is actually technically called code. Yeah. Or Visual Studio Code, actually. So yeah, make use of the search and then the hidden filter feature, which you have to click on that plus. For Windows users, I'm sorry, I don't know how to do it, but I'm sure there's a way. Just some ways to find things you're looking for better. Sort by. So if you wanted to say I searched code and I didn't have a filter, kind is any, is it going to work? Looks like no. I'll have to redo the search. Code. We could sort by different things. We could sort by, and that's this button up here. I have too many things called code, so it's going to take forever. I'll do VS Code. Just so I can see some files showing up in here. So I have different types of files. Files have file extensions like .pdf, and those usually indicate what type of file it is. And then you have folders. So files, folders, and then files have different kinds. And you can usually see the kind right there. You can sort by just clicking kind, and then it sorts by kind. And you can see different kinds of things. You can also do that up here. Kind. And then I think that way actually groups them by kind. So we get the folders up top, we get CSS files. Yeah, sorting is good. And then the last thing in Finder is quick view. So if I had, say I'm working on a project, a coding project, and it's Code the Dream, or let's go sandbox, full stack example. Say I have this index.html file and I want to view what it looks like. You can click and it'll show you. So this is actually the quick view, or sorry, if I said click, I have dyslexia, so I sometimes misspeak. Press the space bar and it'll quick view anything. You could do it. It's showing me not the code here because it's smart and knows that I'm looking at an HTML file. So it'll show the web page and render it with the CSS. But if a lot of files, most files, it'll just show you like the text. So this is the CSS. And you can actually just press the up and down arrows. And if there's like an image, so say I have like this, I know it has some images in it. So we can view the images. Oh, even sounds too. So that's good to know about quick view. And I think there's something like that in Windows, but again, sorry, I'm not on Windows. Okay, so that's staying organized. Let's keep presenting. Okay. Next topic is window management and navigation. This is a huge one, and every time I'm helping someone in a one-on-one, I wish that I could give them a 20-minute lecture on how to navigate their windows within their apps a little bit better, how to, size things on the screen better, but there's just not time to do that. And so I'm showing everyone right here, right now. This is kind of like one of the main topics that kind of got me inspired to make this the topic today. So managing lots of windows and tabs can be super time consuming. And especially when you're coding, I'm sure you have 20 browser tabs open and maybe multiple VS Code windows, and it's crazy. It's too much. You spend so much time dealing with the clutter, and it not only slows you down when you're working, but it just mentally is taxing when you're looking at the screen that's just messy all the time and you can't get to what you want. So I put a little note. There's a lot here. A lot of different techniques I'm going to show you. And so you can just pick and choose what you want. I don't expect you to immediately implement all these things. And if you want, you can always go back and rewatch this. So tip one, mission control and hot corners. So on a Mac, mission control is this. It splits up all of your windows, all of your open windows, and you can click on whichever one you want. And hot corners is a way to activate certain things by putting your mouse in the very corner of your screen. So I'm going to put my mouse in my bottom left corner here, and now I have mission control pop up. The other way I was triggering it is I was pressing in my mouse wheel. I have that configured to do that, pressing in the mouse wheel. There's also a keyboard or a key on your keyboard, depending on your keyboard, but it'll be F3 on the mouse or on the Mac keyboard. That should be mission control too. If you want to mess with it, to set it up, to make sure it's working how you need it, go to system settings, and I'll actually, really quick, I'll show you a bonus tip. I think I get to it actually, but I'll show you how I bring up new apps. So I want to bring up my settings. So you can click this, where is it? The search bar up here in my top menu. And it brings up my Spotlight search. You can also trigger it with Command Spacebar. That's the hotkey. So I'm going to search settings and then enter, and it opens my settings. Now I'm going to search hot corners. And it brings up what each corner of my screen is going to do when I put my mouse there. And so one of them, I start the screensaver if I put it up there. I put the display to sleep if I put it down there. Notification center, which is that guy. And then the bottom left corner is mission control. And these are my settings. You can set it to whatever you want. But and there's different ways you can trigger mission control. And you can get there with desktop and dock. I think, yeah, mission control. And you can trigger it using different types of things, and you can actually go to shortcuts and change so I have my mouse button 3, which is clicking in my scroll wheel to do mission control. So mission control is awesome for getting between windows. It's the first one I learned and got good at. This is the best tip in the whole lesson I'm going to teach today, is Command Tab. If you take anything out of this lesson, it's Command Tab. It's my favorite hotkey that I've ever learned. It's saved me more time than anything I've ever done ever. So the hotkey is Command Tab. You press Command Tab. You just click Tab, and then it brings up this menu. These are all the applications I have open right now. And I can mouse over any of them, and I'm still holding Command. I can let go of Command, and it brings up that application. Bring up VS Code, and even if it's in a different like desktop or whatever, it'll always find the application window you have open and pull it up, which is awesome. And so that's cool, but the best feature about this one is you can toggle between apps really quickly. So if I have my browser as the second to last thing opened, and these will show up in order of which thing was last opened. So my browser was the second to last thing open, and then Canva. So I'm going to go back and forth between Canva, and I'm going to press Command Tab, and it's going to automatically switch between those two. You don't even see the menu pop. So switching between two applications, if it was your most recent applications, which it's common that you want to do that. Like say you're working on code, and I'll show you how to deal with like some split screen code stuff. But say you're doing some code and you want to add something. Say I want to duplicate BMO's name a bunch. It's going to look really bad. I want to see how it looks. Boom. Oh, I don't have live server open. Go live. Okay, BMO, a bunch. Okay, so that's my change. I go back to VS Code, delete it, see it again. So you can make changes in your code and then see your browser really quickly. It's awesome. So learn how to do Command Tab. I use it constantly. It's so good. Oh, and on Windows, Windows has the same thing. It's called Option or Alt Tab. Alt Tab on Windows. And by the way, Alt and Option are the same key. Alt is on Mac, Option is on Windows. So on Windows, it's Option Tab, and it does pretty much the same thing. And then there's even a Mac equivalent. Option Tab. I might not have it installed anymore. Yeah, I might not have it anymore. There's a Mac equivalent to Alt Tab on Windows, which it does the same thing, but it's a little more similar to the Windows version. And I used to have it, but so Alt Tab or Command Tab. You can switch between all of your applications. You can toggle between them. It just makes navigating things on your computer really quick. Multiple desktops. So from Command Center, or Mission Control, sorry. Mission Control, you can see up here at the top, we have these different desktops. So these are an entire separate like blank screen. And you can create a new one by going to the side here and clicking plus. That creates a new desktop. And it's just a new view that's empty. So you can see it's just my blank desktop here. And it's nice because you can have, like you'll see I have multiple already. I have one that has my browser and my code setup. And they're set up in a way to where my browser is side by side with my code. I don't want to have to like, when I switch to Google Chrome, I don't want to have Google Chrome. I'll show you what would happen if my Google Chrome over here, I'll show you what would happen if this was in the same desktop space. So I would go to my Visual Studio Code, and then all of a sudden, I have to find my version of Chrome that has my website showing. So I'd have to click on Chrome, and I'd have to go, where is it? Oh, it's right here. Okay, then I need to click back on my VS Code. And now I'm like, okay, cool, I'm in VS Code. Now I'm going to click back on my browser, and oh, I want to go back to my other browser. So over here, it's a pain. You're having to deal with too many different browser windows. Really, on this desktop, I just have it so I have one browser window and then my VS Code. And the browser window here is specific for the code I'm writing. And then my other browser in this window, it's the same application. It's Google Chrome, but this is kind of more like my main desktop. This is just my coding specific setup. So you can make a configuration of Windows and then always hop back to it. And you can switch between them using Mission Control, or I have a hotkey setup, so I can go back between them. And I can show you how to set up that hotkey really quick if you want. Actually, we're flying through the time, so I'm not gonna. We need to get through this. Okay. Multiple desktops, tiling windows. This is another thing you can do, which a lot of people don't know about. You can hover over these three, there's the red, yellow, and green dots up here. If you hover over the green one, you can say tile window to left of screen. And then it's like full screen, but for half of your screen. And then you get to choose another app. If there are multiple apps here, you get to choose which one or which window you tile to the right. And now we're full screen in two different apps at the same time. And they're separated by this little slider that actually resizes both application windows at the same time, which that's nice. It's nicer than, let's see, I want to undo the full screen. I always have a hard time getting out. I actually don't use that one that often. I would rather just keep them not full screen, but like the windows are sized properly. So that's a good one. And what's nice about that is if you have to resize, if I have to resize these right now, if I resize my VS Code, oh, see, it's hard. I have to resize it, and then I have to resize my browser to match. Whereas if you're in the split screen view, it's just one slider that automatically resizes both of them. So using that feature where you hover over that and do tiled windows is nice. Spotlight search, I already mentioned that. Click on this. You can search for anything, an application, VS Code, or whatever, and then you can just press enter and it'll open it. You can even search something like how many points did blah, blah, blah does LeBron have? It'll actually do a Google search for you. And I can show you that. So instant Google search, I don't even have to open Chrome to do it. Okay. Bonus tip, cycling through the next window within the same app. And another bonus tip, tabbing with hotkeys. I have a LinkedIn post that talks about this, and I can put a link. But basically, the idea between setting up tabbing between tabs. So I have these 3 browser tabs right here, and I can click on them, but I can also use my hotkeys to go in between them. You can see my LinkedIn post to see how to do that. And then there's one more thing. I have it set up to remember the last tab so I can toggle between 2. So if I want to toggle between this one and this one, I can press another hotkey and it'll skip the rest. It'll toggle between my most recent ones, which is similar to Command Tab, toggling between your 2 last applications, which is nice. Okay. Next section is productivity apps. So I know we've been talking about a lot of like things that you have to learn and know how to do. These are more just things that they're a little more easy and understandable. So actually, I take that back. They might not be. Okay, rectangle is what's allowing me to do this. I can resize my windows, and that's an app on Mac. If I go to the App Store and search rectangle, oh, is it even? It might not even be on the App Store. Some apps are not even on the App Store. Rectangle for, yeah, there it is. So this allows you to move and resize your windows easily and all sorts of cool stuff. You can set it up to work with hotkeys, and that is how I code. I get my code editor. I want my browser window. I want to be able to see both of them because I do a lot of front-end stuff. So if I want to see this browser big, I just use the hotkey, and that's rectangle that allows me to do that. And then I shrink it back down. And I have a couple different widths I can toggle between. And then I use Command Tab to go back to Visual Studio Code. I make that fill in the gap. And if I wanted it to be split to where VS Code was the smaller one, do that, switch back, and do that. So that's using rectangle. And really quick full screening stuff, which on your computer, the screen real estate, it's good to try to get the most out of it. And if you just have like a couple miscellaneous apps that are really small and off to the side like that, it just becomes way harder to like see everything and work. So this tool allows you to resize your windows very easily. Fly cut for clipboard history. So when you copy and paste stuff, it only remembers the last thing you copied, right? If I were to copy that and then I wanted to paste it somewhere, like into Google search. So I copy this and then I paste it. That's the last thing my keyboard copied. But say I wanted to copy multiple things. I wanted to copy this and this. It would only remember the last thing I copied. Flycut is another app for Mac. Flycut, Mac. It's a clipboard manager, and your clipboard is what allows you to copy and paste. It remembers the last thing you copied. Flycut allows you to have a history of the last thing you copied. So I copied that thing, and it's a little hard to see. It's a little popover window that happens that's clear, and maybe it'll be easier if I like, well, let's try, maybe I could switch to light theme. I have all my stuff set to dark theme, so it's a little hard to see, but it's this popover that happens, and you can see it says on the bottom 1 of 40. So I can actually scroll using my arrow keys and see the last things I copied. So if you copy multiple things, say yesterday, like for example, this is a nice one. I have this crazy looking URL, right? That's like where my live server allows me to see my code. If I copy that, now tomorrow, even if I've copied a bunch of things in between copying this and tomorrow, I can always scroll back through the last things I copied and find it. So it's really good for that. It's also good for, say I want to copy all these terms and make new elements with all of them in it. I can go down here, cycle through them, gaming, computer science. It's all the last things I copied. I think being able to copy multiple things and have it remember them is super, super useful. And if you download it and if you start trying it, you'll be amazed at the amount of times that comes in handy. And then the last one is Oro, which is a timer that I have in my menu bar. And I can say, 10 minutes, do something. And you can even do hashtags and it like makes like, it keeps track of all of your data and you can see like graphs and stuff of it. I think that's for the pro version only, which you can have the non-pro version. It's totally fine. But it starts a timer. And that's nice for if you like the Pomodoro technique or something. You can work in certain increments and say, I want to get this thing done. And I'm just going to do 10 minutes of work. And it's just a fast way to do a timer. And you can stop it and all that. It's called Oro. Okay, moving on past, yeah, this is going to take a while. I don't know if we're going to be able to get through it all, but I'm going to probably fly through the keyboard shortcuts because you can just look at them on your own time. And I'm going to post the slides also so you can go back and reference these. So what is a keyboard shortcut? It's also called a hotkey, and it allows you to do many of the common tasks or many common tasks by pressing a combination of keys on your keyboard. So like I can right click and copy, or I can press Command C and copy. So I'm going to show you how to copy and or how to just do any hotkey because sometimes it's not very intuitive and not everyone knows the exact, you can like mess it up easily. So if you want, you can start with 2 fingers on 2 different hands. Take 1 finger, put it on a modifier key. So modifier keys are Command, Option, Control, FN is a modifier key, Shift, and I think that's it. Alt on a Windows computer. And basically what they do is when you hold down that key, your keyboard all of a sudden associates all the other keys with something else. Like all the letters are no longer, you could imagine like it overlays a new functionality to each of those keys. And depending on the modifier you hold down and the app you're on and everything, it'll do something different. So you hold down the modifier key and then all of a sudden, all of your keys are going to do something different as long as that modifier key is held down. Then you can, and this is the thing that sometimes trips people up. They sometimes press the modifier key, let go of it, and then press another key. You have to keep holding the modifier key, peck another key. So you press the key down and then up, and then you let go of the modifier key. So press the modifier key, peck another key, and then let go of the modifier. And you can let go of them in any order. It's just the important thing is you press the modifier key before you press the like target key. And then once you've practiced that, you can evolve to using your thumb and finger. And this was actually a thumbs up emoji, and I just put cylinder right here. I looked up cylinder and worked out pretty well for the finger. Okay, keyboard shortcuts. So here's my favorites. Here's the general ones that you should know. Especially when you're a programmer, you should know how to copy and paste. It's not cheating. Well, it depends on the circumstance, but if you're on the job and your boss wants something done, don't be afraid to copy and paste. And so that is Command C. And so on Windows, Command is Control, right? So on Windows, it would be Control C. On Mac, it's Command C. And then these are just the symbols. When you look up hotkeys, you'll see these symbols. That is for command, that little guy right there. And sometimes the command key actually shows that symbol, sometimes it doesn't. Shift is an arrow pointing upwards, which is different from just an arrow key arrow. This one's hollow. And then that weird thing is for Option or Alt. Option on a Mac, Alt on a PC. So copy is Command C, paste is Command V, cut, undo, Command Z, redo, which is really good to know. Sometimes it's Command Y, and this depends on the application you're using. But a lot of applications use Command Shift Z. And that's a common thing you'll see. Shift will kind of be like, I want to do the opposite of something. So if you hold Shift, and then press Command Z, then it redoes it. So undo is Command Z, redo is Command Shift Z. Save is Command S, and find, which is really useful, Command F. More shortcuts: new, open, quit, close tab. Close tab is good. So if I'm on my browser and I have this tab open, it's Command W to close tabs. That's awesome. Wait, where am I? Okay. Close tab. New tab is Command T, which is good to know. Reload, you can reload a window or anything. That's Command R, and then select all. Like if you want to select all some text, if you're like, I want to copy this entire HTML file and send it to someone, Command A highlights everything. So Command A for all. Okay, now here's some ones that you might not know. The other ones you may have known. These ones you might not. Jump to the beginning of a line. So these are moving your cursor around. And I'll split this view and put it next to my VS Code so you can see what I'm talking about. So I have my cursor right here in VS Code. I can move it back and forth using my arrow keys or by clicking my mouse. If I want to, let's go to this text down here. So if I want to jump to the beginning of the line, if I'm at the end of the line and I want to jump to the beginning, it's Command left arrow. And then jump to the end of the line is Command right arrow. So Command lets you jump to the beginning and end of lines, and Command up and down will jump to the top and bottom of your file. So that's a pretty good one to know. And then the one that I really like and use all the time is jump to the beginning or ending of a word. So that's with Option. So Command is beginning and end of line, Option, and then the arrow keys is beginning and ending of word. So now it's jumping to the end of each word or the beginning of each word. And then where that really becomes useful is when you hold down Shift and press arrow keys, you can select text. So again, I'm selecting and I'm not using my mouse. I'm not clicking and dragging. And if you press Option to do the word jumping and Shift, which selects stuff, you can select words. So I could say I want to jump to, let's say I want to jump and select alarm clock. Let's see how quickly I can do it. There. And sometimes that's faster than reaching for your mouse. Depends. Might not have been right there. But if you're already typing something, like say you spelled something wrong, jump to the beginning of the word, delete it. Or jump over to the end and, whatever. So good things to know, moving your cursor around using the arrow keys and Option and Command. And then holding select to, or holding shift to select things. Okay, I think that's the end of these shortcuts. Yeah. Okay, the good stuff, VS Code. So first we're going to talk about the color theme. I'm using a dark color theme, and it is my color theme. I made it, and I just released it out into the world, and it's available for download. It's called Yum, and I think all of you should probably download it if you want. The way to do it is you go to Extensions, which is this tab right here, search Yum, click on it, made by me, and it has one 5-star review, which I gave it. So, and then you can hit install, which is not showing right now, but you can hit install, and then you're good to go. And there's all sorts of different themes. I'm joking about having to install my theme. There's plenty of really good themes out there, and installing them is fun. Okay. Useful extensions. Oh, wait. First, the best hotkey. Command D is how you select. So if I had, say all these things, they're all hrefs, and you can see when I highlight them, or actually, let's see these LIs. They're list elements. If I wanted to select all of these list elements and change them to a different tag, you select the LI, and then you can press Command D. And actually, I changed the hotkey on my keyboard, but change it on my keyboard, but it'll be different. It'll be Command D by default. So Command D, and it selects the next occurrence of something. And then you can make cursors at all of the matching text. So if you have, multiple things that are matching, like say I wanted to change all of my H3 tags to H2, you select H3, Command D, Command D, Command D, Command D, Command D, and then it puts a cursor on every single one of them, and we can say H1. And now we're typing with multiple cursors, every single one of those at the same time. It's awesome. And then my second favorite hotkey is Option and then up or down. So if you're on a line and you press Option and then you press the up or down arrow key, it moves that line of text up or down. And then you can even select like a whole group. Like if I wanted to move, so I have an unordered list here with all these list elements. Say I want to move this whole list element here, or here's the ending tag. So say I want to move this one up. I select the whole thing, and then I press Option or Alt on a Mac, and then the up arrow. And I can move the whole line of code up, and it moves the other code beneath it. So that's a really good thing to know, moving code up and down. And I know we're going to run out of time, so if any of you just feel like leaving at any point, you can totally leave, but I'm probably just going to keep going. Yeah, no hard feelings if you want to go. Okay, Prettier. This is super useful. Prettier will format your code for you. So it's what's called a code formatter, and it allows you to do stuff like this. So say I have this H3 and say it's way out here like that. Prettier will automatically format it correctly for me. So all of my HTML, all of my CSS, all of my JavaScript, all of my code that I ever write ever is going to be perfectly formatted at all times because I have Prettier, and it's kind of essential. And I'm surprised that that wasn't one of the requirements here for installing VS Code. But the way to do it is you search in extensions Prettier. It'll show up. It's a code formatter. It has 43 million downloads because every programmer ever uses it. And so you hit install, and then there's some other steps. I'll show you here. So I have it. So you go to extensions, prettier install, and then you set it as your default formatter, which you have to go to your settings, default formatter, prettier, and then you set it up. This is personal preference. I have it set up to format whenever I save my document. So whenever I save my file, that's when it'll format. So I do that, it's fine, it does its thing, and then I save, and it'll format it. And so the way to do that is, again, you extensions, search prettier, hit install, and then you go to settings, which you can click this little gear icon, settings, and then you can search format and set your default formatter. There's going to be a whole list of them here. And you're going to search for prettier. There it is. That's now your default formatter, and then click format on save right here, which should be one of the top other things that show up when you search format. So now whenever we save, our code will get formatted. It'll save us from stuff like, say, this p tag in this text. What if the p tag is closing way up here? It's kind of confusing to look at right there. It's not obvious to see where it starts and ends. Prettier to the rescue. It formats it. It's opinionated. So it has a certain like set of rules that dictate where everything's going to be placed. And it's pretty much the like universally accepted style guide for your code. And it'll save you so much time having to like, make sure that all of your spacing is perfect and everything. So get prettier. It does it automatically, basically, once you set it up that way. You just save and then it does it. Okay. The other extension is Live Server. I think all of you have Live Server. I think you installed it when you set up VS Code, but basically it allows you to see the results of your code, your HTML and CSS and stuff, when you're typing, and it shows up in your browser. It shows the results of that, the difference. But the key thing here, so you can install it, and then I'll show you how to activate it. There's a couple different ways. You can right click in your HTML and go to open with live server. One way that I kind of like to do it is I go down here to the bottom menu bar and I just stopped it, but this is how it'll look by default. There's this little thing that says go live, and you can click on that and it'll start your live server. If it opens up in a browser tab that you don't want, you can just copy the URL, because it's really the URL that's doing it. That's what it's connecting to a certain port on your computer, and you're accessing that port through this URL. So you could start it. You could open it up in a new browser tab as long as you copy and paste the URL. The main thing that I wanted to talk about here, because I think all of you have live server probably. I wanted to mention when you're coding, it's super important if you're doing like front end stuff, have your browser window open next to it. Because then as you're making changes, you can like see it instantly. It's just it's gonna make everything a lot more intuitive and easy. And especially when you're doing like CSS, you're just gonna be able to see instantly how things update. And so have your windows side by side. And if you don't want to have a browser window like that, another thing you can do is in VS Code, show preview. And I think Tom does this way. You have to install, I think you have to install an extension for that called Live Preview. Live Preview. Install Live Preview, and then I think that's all the setup you need, and it'll, in your HTML, you can click on this little icon. And the icon might look a little different for you. I have like an icon theme, so my icons might look a little different, but look for something that says show preview. And that's another way to do it. I like having, it's the same effect as having your browser show it. like that. Except with live preview, first of all, it's new, so I haven't even really used it much. Second of all, I don't really know if there's like a console. Oh, open DevTools pane. Okay, seems like there is a console, so you can do DevTools in it. But that's another way to do it. It's your preference, but you know, have your result of your code visible while you're coding. It's nice if you can afford it. Some people, you're working on a laptop and your screen isn't necessarily big enough, and that's why it's useful to be able to do Alt Tab like that. You can be full screen in both views, but quickly switch between. Okay. I know this is a lot. Okay, bonus tips for the terminal. So when you're working in the terminal, there's two things. Using the arrow keys to cycle through previous commands and pressing tab to autocomplete. Those are things that not everyone knows, and I'll just show you really quick how those work. So I have my terminal. Clear it. Okay, here's my terminal. I can type git and whatever. If I want to go back to a previous command, so say the last command I typed was git, or at some point in the past, in the history, I know that I typed git add. You can just press the up arrow and it'll automatically fill in. This is your history. This is your command history. So it'll list all of your last commands. And you can go back really, really, really far, days, as long as it's in the same instance of your terminal. So a different instance would be like a different VS Code window or like your terminal application. But in your terminal application, it's the same thing. You can press up or down to scroll through your previous commit or commands, which is really useful. Another thing is you can autocomplete. So say I want to go into a certain folder, CD, and then press tab, and it'll actually list out the possible folders. So I could start typing BMO, BM, and as long as I have BM, it knows this is the only folder that will match that pattern. So if I just press tab, it'll fill in BMO homepage for me. And same thing with like if I were to do git, clear my terminal. If I were to type git commit, I haven't typed the full thing, command, and it fills it in. And then, git pull. Oh, here it's giving me two different options, push or pull. So pressing tab will, and it's really useful when working with folders. So you want to go into a folder, say you're at like your root directory, which CD. So now I'm at my root directory. So I have all these different folders that I might want to go into. CD, I can start typing documents. Press tab, it gives me two options, documents or downloads. I'm going to press C. Now, documents. Coding. Coding. Sandbox. Autocomplete in terminal. It's great. And cycling through your previous tabs. All right. What's next? Using Google Chrome like a pro. So in Google Chrome, you can have bookmarks. So I'll give you, I think you know how to use bookmarks probably. I think everyone probably knows. It's this bar up here that has all these different things. You can save websites. So if I were to go to a Wikipedia page and want to save it, whatever, you can press Command D to bookmark it, or you can go to bookmarks, bookmark this tab. And then when you make bookmarks in Google Chrome, you can actually group them into a folder. So I have a bunch of folders of bookmarks. So I have CS for computer science. And another thing, I like to save space on here so I can have as many things as I can. And so you'll see I have all these icons here, like Gmail, GitHub, LinkedIn. Normally they'll have a name. So if I were to go to like, I don't know, like icon finder, I use this one a lot, so I might want to bookmark it. If I were to bookmark it, it would automatically give it the name of icon finder, and I can choose the folder. And so you can either put it in your all bookmarks, your bookmarks bar, or you can make a folder. And to make a folder, you say choose another folder, and then I'll give you this little window where you can create folders and stuff for your bookmarks. Now, with the name, I like to name my bookmarks. If I'm going to put them just on the base level right here, I like to name them nothing. Delete the whole name. And then it just shows an icon. And wait, where did I save that? Tools. Okay. So CS tools. Here it is. So I just put that in there with no name, and it's a little dark. You can't really see it. The icon is black, so you can't really see it. But if you want just the icon, because you already know, like LinkedIn, it'll by default give it the name LinkedIn, but you can save space on your bookmarks bar by just deleting the name, and it'll just show the icon. So bookmarks are great. You can group them and stuff like that. Okay, tabs in Google Chrome. You can have tabs and you can have tab groups. So if I go to my main kind of browser that I always use, also you can pin tabs. So these tabs are pinned. So these are always up, and you can pin a tab by going right-clicking and saying pin. And then it's just going to take up less space, and it's always going to be there. So if you have tabs that you always want there, you can group tabs. So here I have a tab group right here, a portfolio, which is stuff that I've been, I had a bunch of tabs I was using when I was building my portfolio website. They were taking up a lot of space on here. So I can click on it and it brings up my tab group. So these are all like the tabs that I had open at that point. So the way you group them is you select a tab, press shift, and then another tab, or shift or commit, or wait, no, it's just shift. You press shift and then you can select multiple, and then you can right click and say add tabs to new group. And you can change, and they're actually, this is a pretty new feature and they're constantly changing it right now because they're like improving it and making it better. There's a way now to name your group. So you can name it, you can change the color of it, you can save it, you can do all sorts of cool stuff. The most recent feature they added is you can hide it. So that's why it's showing up down here. So I made a group, I grouped all my tabs, and then I hid it. So now those aren't taking up any space up here, but I can pull them back whenever I want. Just cleans up your whole thing. And then just a warning, the more tabs you have open, the slower your computer is going to go in general, especially on Google Chrome. Google Chrome will use so much memory, it's crazy. And it'll make your computer go super slow if you have lots of tabs open. And they actually introduced this feature recently where if you have a tab open for long enough and you haven't been to it, you can see that little memory usage at the bottom. When I hover over that, it says at the bottom, memory usage, and it says a certain amount of space, megabytes. That's your RAM. That's the amount of RAM it's using. So if you have a tab that's sitting there and you haven't been to it in a while, it'll become inactive and save space. It'll like go, okay, I'm not going to use your RAM anymore, which is nice. But if you have pin tabs, they're always open. They're always using memory. Like out of all these tabs, like these are using altogether like almost, let's see. Gmail itself is using 750 megabytes. My computer is 8 gigabytes of RAM. So altogether, these are like, a third of my entire computer's speed is being like affected, slowed down, because I just have this many tabs open. And you can see, depending on the tab, if you have a Wikipedia page open, it probably won't be taking up that much space. But if you have, YouTube open, it'll probably be taking up a lot of space. So if your computer's going really slow, close some Google Chrome tabs, and you can actually look at Activity Monitor. An Activity Monitor will show you the memory that your computer's using for certain tasks, and it'll generally show you Chrome has like a specific thing that'll show. I'm not seeing it right here, right now. I don't know why. But Chrome will generally take up a lot of your computer space and just browsers in general. Okay, how to Google things faster. As a programmer, you need to know how to get answers to questions. And so here's a little exercise. It's really fun. How to Google things faster. And it's going to be awesome. I just came up with this and I'm really excited about it. So Google only cares about key terms. So when you're typing in a search, you can type something like where eat food. You don't have to type where should I go to eat dinner tonight, you know? You could even just say food and it'll probably know what you want. So you can save time and write less into the search bar. You can speak like a caveman or a cavewoman, and I have a caveman. So we're going to do an exercise where we shorten this search, and we're going to see how short we can get it and still get the exact answer we want. So how do I type a for loop in JavaScript? That's our search. So I'm going to go to Chrome, and I'm going to search that. How do I write a for loop in JavaScript? And it brings up this W3 Schools article on how to write a for loop in JavaScript. You can scroll and find the answer, whatever. This is the result we want. This has the answer we need, how to write a for loop in JavaScript. So how much of this can we cut out and still get this website, this thing to show up right here, that search result? Well, step one, we don't have to worry about proper grammar, capitals, punctuation, even spelling. So we don't have any capitals now. How do I write a faux lop in JavaScript? So we totally are misspelling words. We don't have capitals. It's just not the best grammar. Let's try it out. How do I write a faux lop in JavaScript? And we still get the result we want. It's going to say, did you mean this? Well, it doesn't really matter if we meant that because we got the answer we wanted anyways. Can we shorten it further? We can leave out all the filler words. So again, Chrome wants key terms. Key terms. So we can leave out all of the like kind of sentence flow stuff and just have the keywords. For loop JavaScript. And in this case, it's faux lop JavaScript. So we're going to search faux lop JavaScript. And do we think it'll still come up with the same answer we need? Oh yeah, JavaScript for loop. So even though we just typed faux lop JavaScript, it knows what we're talking about. We can use abbreviations. So JS, we're shortening JavaScript to JS. Faux lop JS. Oh yeah, we're getting the result we want. How about, can we go even further? So this is entering the danger zone. We're just going to search faux lop. We're leaving out JavaScript or JS. We're just going to search faux lop. Do you think searching faux lop is going to give us the answer we want? And again, this step, I'm not recommending it always. Leaving out the keywords like JS. This is the danger zone. You might not get the result you want. But we can search faux lop and we'll see what happens. Faux lop. Yep. Isn't that crazy? Think about the amount of time that we just saved going from how do I write a for loop in JavaScript to faux lop. So when you're programming and you want to know the answer to something, maybe don't just search faux lop, but what I would do is if I were looking this up, I'd just say for loop JS. So don't worry about proper grammar. Don't worry about any of that. Don't phrase it as a question because you're typing it into Google, so Google knows. You can Google things faster. Google has a big brain, so we don't have to have big brains. Google does it for us. The next awesome feature of Google Chrome is an extension I like called grepper. It displays code-related answers directly in Google's search results. No need to click on websites. So what does that mean? Well, let's see, you might have seen it. I'm in an incognito tab. So incognito mode, you don't get your extensions. So I'm going to open a non-incognito tab and I'm going to search for loop.js. And look at this. This is this extension that I'm telling you about, grepper. It lets you see code results. So this person put a for loop example in grepper. So grepper is like a database of answers to search results, to common things that people have Googled, or just anything people have Googled. It's the community. It's like Stack Overflow showing up in your just Google search results. You can see who it was posted by. You can thank them. You can even make your own. You can edit it, share it, all this. So grepper basically will show you, like if you're searching coding stuff, you can get answers showing up in here without even having to click on the website. It is fast to find answers, and it's really awesome. And you can even add your own ones. I've added my own, a couple that will show up for myself when I search stuff, and they'll show up for other people too. So let's see, what are the first ones that I've added? First one was reopen last closed tab in Google Chrome. This is one I really liked. So I made a grepper answer for it. And so now if I search this, Chrome, reopen, close tab. This is my, oh wait, it's not. Okay, someone else answered it, so their answer is showing up first. But and it's Control Shift T or Command Shift T to reopen the last closed tab. So if I accidentally close that and I was like, oh wait, I want that, Command Shift T. That's that one key. But grepper allows you to store these quick references in and mostly see other people's references is what you want. It's like Stack Overflow without having to click on it. And you just go to Chrome Web Store and search for grepper. The reason it's called grepper is because in your terminal, there's a command called grep. And it's very useful if you're like a power user for terminal stuff. Use grep a lot. Grep. And I don't even know how to use it, honestly. I barely know. It just like searches and does like I don't know, does stuff. So that's why it's called grepper. How to set it up, I kind of forgot, but yeah, you just go to the website and I think it's easy. I'll post the link. Okay, some cheat sheets. These are just some links. I'm not gonna like go over these at all. I'm just gonna link these to you, or I'm gonna like post the slides and you can download these. Having cheat sheets is great. These are all sorts of useful. I think this was actually made by Microsoft, who makes VS Code. So they'll give you all the most important and best key commands. And then there's also cheat sheets for things like Git. If I want to know about different Git commands, you can find cheat sheets online. And these are just random ones I found online. And you can download them or you can save them as in your bookmarks or whatever. Just a quick reference, and then you don't have to like Google stuff all the time, and you can even make your own. I've made some of my own cheat sheets, which are awesome. Okay, how to develop these skills and learn new ones. I'd say the most important thing is being excited about being really good at it. When I first started programming, I had this idea that if I could get really fast at just using my computer, it was going to pay off because I'm planning on spending the rest of my life doing this. And so I'm going to take the time now to learn how to use my tools really well. I'm going to get really good at it. And then the milliseconds I save every day are going to like, pay off. I wanted to just be really fast at using my computer and good at it. And so I've learned all these things and more. And I think if you're programming and you want to do it, if you want to really get good at it, find a way to like be inspired, be excited about how am I going to be one of those programmers that like just gets things done, knows how to not waste their time and it feels good. It feels like you're in a flow state when you're on the computer. So I brought up some people who are really good at their things. This is Messi, who's really good at soccer. This is Gordon Ramsay, who's really good at cooking. And then there's Carlos Santana, who's really good at playing guitar. Being good at stuff is exciting and fun. And so that's what inspired me to learn all these things. But here's some tangible ideas. You can Google search stuff. For example, VS Code open settings. So I'll show you really quick. VS Code settings. You can see I shortened that search. And in this case, it looks like I might want to do open settings. And it tells me where to open them. And then it tells me a hotkey. And this one's a little hard to see. This is actually Control plus, and then that's a comma. It's really hard to see right there. Control and comma. And so now I would go to VS Code and go, okay, remember there's a hotkey for this. Command, because command and control, right? So command and then the comma, and it brings up my settings. And I knew that one, but there's lots you can learn, and you can learn them by looking them up and stuff. Watch YouTubers who code. I have a list of some of my favorite YouTube channels, and you'll learn a lot by just watching other people code. And this is a link. So if you download the slides, you can click. I think this will be in PDFs. I've never downloaded Canvas slides like this, but I think this will be a PDF and you can click on this list. This is a list I made for another student a while back. The best resources for new web developers. And I have a list of my favorite YouTube channels organized from beginner, intermediate, and advanced and extras and stuff. So watching these YouTubers is a great way to learn how to get better at stuff and get faster at using your computer and stuff. When you learn new things, make a note. Use like your notes app. If you're on Windows, you definitely have a notes app too. And keep a list of all of your favorite, things like shortcuts and stuff. And you can even make your own cheat sheet. And as with anything, practice makes better. Not perfect, but better. So the more you do a certain motion with your hands, the faster you're going to get at it, the more easily it's going to come to you. And, like at first, the first time I was working with multiple cursors like that, I was like, this is crazy. This is super weird and uncomfortable. But the more you do it, the better you get at it. And just a secret about going fast on the computer, every time you touch your mouse in general, that's slowing you down. So the best, fastest programmers generally are sitting there with their hands glued to their keyboard, and they just know shortcuts for everything. And they're just, whether it's shortcuts or just like finding different ways to maneuver their computer with their keys. So yeah, anytime you learn how to do something using your keyboard rather than your mouse, you are probably going to be speeding up your workflow if you practice it. And then the last section, how to merge with your computer and become a cyborg for advanced students only. Oh, I forgot to make that section. Next time, I'll show you. Okay, that's the end. Sorry, I went way over time, but I hope you learned something, and I'll post the slides and stuff. And don't get overwhelmed with all the new information I showed you. Try to pick a couple things and to take from this. One, I would install Prettier. That's super important. It's gonna make everything better. And the other one is use Command Tab or Alt Tab on Mac. It's super good. Super good, super fast and awesome. Okay, that was a lot of talking. Did I lose everyone or are you still with me?
That was great, Rio. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. I know I fit a lot in here. And I didn't practice. So I had no idea if I was gonna have enough time to go through all that. But thanks for sticking around, all of you.
Thank you, Rio. Super
Yeah.
useful.
And sorry I didn't go over the DOM. I know you guys are learning about or you all are learning about the DOM, and there's a lot there. I I just felt that a lot of times when I'm helping students, I want to teach them this stuff, and so I just wanted to get on my soapbox for a minute. But we can talk about the DOM. Y'all can schedule one-on-ones with me if you need. Okay. Bye.
Thank you.